Hey everyone, Geophysicist Stefan Burns here. We are looking at a very dynamic situation right now for the next 7 days. The next week or so is a critical time period as it relates to a convergence of space weather and Earth geophysical energies, as well as a planetary alignment that is active, and that is also including in alignment with Interstellar Object 3I Atlas. And so all of this is looking like we're going to have some big, significant, high magnitude earthquake activity in the next 7 days. I would say the chance of there being a magnitude 7 plus earthquake is very high. I would not be surprised if we see magnitude 7.5 or greater. This is all looking very, very reminiscent of March of 2025. Also July, we've seen these sort of convergences before. And well, now we have the space weather proof. So in today's video, we're going to just go over all the data. I'm going to show you piece by piece what we're looking at with a variety of data feeds from NASA, NOAA, USGS, etc. We're going to talk about the specifics, some of the data that, observations that we've collected across time, not just myself, but many others. Compile that all and then give you the forecast. So with that, let's get right into it. What we're looking at here is just one illustrative example of the type of solar activity that we've been seeing recently. This was one of the largest plasma filament eruptions on the sun in solar cycle 25. We've had some big ones. This is one of the biggest. Top 5, maybe even top 3, probably top 3, maybe number 1. I mean, this is a gigantic filament eruption. Basically, you have this tube of plasma that has this magnetic field to it, and there's some sort of destabilization that occurs, and it launches out like this. This was not Earth direct. You see it's launching from the north here out into space. There's no Earth directed component to that. If that was Earth direct, let's say shooting right from here just like that, that would have been a big geomagnetic storm. So probably G3 at a minimum. I mean, that's a huge plasma filament. That's just one of many events that's occurred in the past week that's been quite significant. So there's just been a ton of activity. And this is illustrative of the dynamics at play right now with the sun. It all starts with the sun. The Earth geophysical energy system is fed by the energy of the sun, and changes to the structured energy coming off the sun influence Earth's geophysical energy systems. So what we see right here is a very large coronal hole. These are well correlated with high magnitude earthquakes, specifically when they are A, large. If they're tiny coronal holes like this, they're generally not these earthquake generators. But when they're big coronal holes, then they are, because the solar wind that they emit occupies a larger amount of space. It really spreads out, and we're in that solar wind stream for a long period of time. So the duration of our transit through the solar wind that these pump out seems to be an important factor. Also, the velocity to that solar wind stream, the density to it needs to be low density, high velocity. The bigger they are, the more likely they have those characteristics. B, it's trans-equatorial, so it cuts through the equator of the sun, meaning that it's guaranteed to hit us. So if it's just down here, we'll use this one again as an example. Just this little guy, it didn't hit us with a coronal hole high-speed stream. It's tiny, it's below the equator. Yeah, it shot off something into interplanetary space, but didn't hit Earth. This is guaranteed to hit Earth, and it's going to be a long transit. We'll look at the NOAA space weather model. They show that high-speed stream impact coming in. It's a long duration transit according to their forecasting. This is also a positive polarity, and we had a very large coronal hole that actually looked very similar to this back in March of 2025. It had this structure kind of like that, cutting through the equator, and then kind of these shoulders going off. And it was also positive polarity, and right after that occurred, we had a 7.7 earthquake hit Burma, Thailand, Myanmar, that whole region. Very destructive earthquake, many lives lost. There was also a significant planetary alignment that occurred just before that, on March 21st, 22nd, 23rd. And well, we also have a significant planetary alignment happening right now. We have the new moon on the 18th. We have Mercury Cazimi following up right afterwards, which means Mercury's on the other side of the sun. We have Venus and Mars on the other side of the sun right now. We have Jupiter right behind us. 3i Atlas is right behind us. Pluto is on the side also of Mars, Venus, and Mercury. We'll look at that planetary alignment. It is quite significant. So there is a lot that's happening. More than just that, we also have these sunspot groups. So if it was just the coronal hole, if it was just the planetary alignment, if it was just the new moon, actually add those all together, it's a lot already. But if it's just the coronal hole, for example, it's like, okay, we have an increased risk of earthquakes because we see that correlation. We can track that across time, especially when they look like this. This is not a tiny one. This is not a moderate one. This is like a big baddie right here, like the big boy. He's back. When you add in the fact that we have some very active growing sunspots on the sun, they charge up the global electric circuit. And as a result, the entire Earth will be more energized as we go through that high-speed stream. So let me show you our 131 angstrom view of the sun. Going back to the large 3.3 M-class flare that we had. That was a much bigger solar flare. We only caught just the edge of it, and it's still registered as a long-duration 3.3 M-class flare. That was a big solar flare. We've had some more since then. There kind of a little bit of cutoff on this. Right now we have the Earth passing in front of SDO, so we lose a little bit of imagery every day around 6 to 8 a.m. Universal Time. But we've had quite a few significant explosions from this sunspot group right here, 4341. We've had rapid growth in this sunspot group right here, 4343. And I think that's right, 4343. Is that right? Yeah, 4343. And then we also have a pretty significant sunspot group right there, 4342. So it's been a lot of sunspot flux. But as you can see, they're crackling, they're popping, they're really active, meaning that as they get closer and closer to Earth's center and direct, we're going to get hit more directly by all that high energy light radiation. This is extreme ultraviolet X-ray radiation. And as a result, the global electric circuit is going to charge up. And then if we really start getting some solar flares to hit us, right? Even if it's just crackling and popping, our base load X-ray flux is going to go up. If it starts to really go off as solar flares, then we're going to start cooking. That is kind of what it seems is going to happen, because we can look at our X-ray flux for the past week, and these are the sort of conditions that we see before significant flares. We see this long duration 3.3 X-class flare, but when you get a lot of jumps up like this, and it's not really stopping, that's a pretty sure sign that something big is coming. We can't say every single time. This whole forecast could not pan out, but it's a higher probability, a much higher probability, which is why I'm issuing the forecast. When you have a weather forecast and you see a system come in, you're like, hey guys, we have an 80% chance of rain. You know, the meteorological environment's pretty crazy. The atmosphere can change, it's pretty rapid. Maybe all of a sudden it blows the other way. So you can't ever say anything's guaranteed. This is not guaranteed, but it's very likely, much more likely than normal for the earthquake forecast, a solar storm, and solar high-speed stream impact. The high-speed stream impact for sure is going to occur. The planetary alignment for sure is going to occur because the moon's not going to zip off. The planets are going to fly away. Those are guaranteed to happen, which is why there's more confidence with this. Okay? But we see a lot of activity from these sunspot groups. And if we look at our sunspot continuum directly, we can see this in action. So we'll see 4343 suddenly appear on the Earth-facing side and grow to a pretty significant sunspot right now at the Earth central meridian. But check out 4341 right there. So this is 4343 growing rapidly, but spreading apart. 4341 is larger, like much larger, and it's compact, it's dense, it's actively growing at this time too. It just rotated on. So it's not going to be Earth center and direct for another 5 days or so, but that is a big significant sunspot group that's already blasted off 2 significant solar flares and coronal mass ejection. One was back around the 8th and then another on the 11th. And so it's been a few days in between each, or right now kind of at that time period where we would expect the next one to occur if that reoccurrence interval holds. Either way, for it to go all the way across for the next 12 days and not to have a significant solar flare, high M class or even X class flare, I think is exceedingly unlikely given its shape, structure, complexity. We can zoom in right there. Given all those factors, it's almost certainly going to hit us with something. And then you add in these planetary energies and well, things get quite spicy. We can see this with our coronagraph views. So I just want you to see here how solar activity started to rapidly increase as these planets got closer and closer to their Cazimi. This is Venus, this is Mars. We'll see Mercury come in from the side, okay? Venus is moving faster than the sun, all from geocentric orbit. Venus is zooming ahead, becoming an evening star. That's that full halo on the 8th. From the far side, that sunspot started to rotate around. You'll see a big coronal mass ejection come out there, right there. And there's that big filament. We see a whole bunch of activity. So Mars is slower, Mercury is the fastest. The sun is also, of course, moving. Well, rather, we're moving in our orbit. So that's why they're all going these different directions. But we have a clustering of planets right now. Let's just zoom to the end here. This is the cluster of planets that we have right now. We have Mercury right there, soon to do its superior conjunction Cazimi around the 19th or so. The new moon's on the 18th. So it'll be Sun, Moon, Earth, right? The moon's going to be in front of the Earth, right in line with all of this. There's Mars, there's Venus. They're all close together. This is 32 solar radii across. They're only separated by a few degrees. You know, if you split the sky into 360 degrees, only a few degrees of separation. And on the other side of the sun as well, far beyond these three planets, we have the planet Pluto, the dwarf planet Pluto, which is also an energetic factor. Because when you have alignments with these Kuiper belt objects, that seems to really kind of enhance everything. It adds an energetic element in alignment to further reaches of the solar system, which empowers them. That's the general kind of thing that I've seen. We have Jupiter behind us, the biggest planet in the solar system, strongest magnetic field, strongest gravitational field outside of the sun for both of those. It's directly behind us, and so is 3i Atlas. So if we go through this again, I just want you to watch the launches here from all sides. It was fairly quiet back in the end of December, and then it just started to ramp up. And this is exactly what we saw in 2006 when we had the same planetary alignment, almost identical. And so we just see that the activity really starts to ramp up, especially right after Mars and Venus go conjunct right there. That's when we get the full halo. And then we start seeing these filaments destabilize. We start seeing more and more solar storms that get launched out. There's the other one, there's that one, there's another one right here, right? It just really starts to get active. We get one down to the south there just now. And if you study this, there have been multiple researchers that have pointed out that Mercury seems to usually be the key activator because it has the fastest orbital velocity around the sun. It's the closest to the sun. And so when it enters into specific geometries, that seems to be when often big things happen. Back in March of 2025, we had Venus and Mercury on the inside of the sun, in between the Earth and the sun, doing inferior conjunctions. And so Mercury was the activator there as well. And we had the magnitude 7.7 earthquake hit Burma, Thailand. So we have Mercury involved here as well. It is the activator. You see it's coming in quick. It will be doing that conjunction pretty soon. So that is definitely something to watch. Let's look at the position of the planets right now. We can do that with our Sky Live app. So let me pull that up for you. Here it is. And this is set for today, okay? So we have Mars, Venus, Mercury, Sun, Earth, 3i Atlas, Jupiter. And we see here that we have this alignment right now between Jupiter, Earth, the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, all very closely aligned. If you go forward just a few days, let's say to the 19th right here, we see that we start to get, actually let's go a little bit more forward here. we see that we start to get this three-eye atlas Earth, Sun, Mercury alignment. If we zoom this around, we'll also see here that this is lining up with Pluto. So this is the second part of this planetary alignment. We've been talking about on the channel quite a bit. As many of you know, the Mars, Venus, Earth, Jupiter alignment. Now Mercury is coming in and creating a secondary alignment that also includes three-eye atlas and Pluto. So this whole time period is supercharged. And we haven't had a high magnitude earthquake like magnitude 7 or something for a while, which means we're kind of overdue. And often these planetary alignments, there's a time range on them. So you just have to look at how significant are they, right? This planetary alignment going back to the 9th of January roughly, this one right here, and we can kind of zoom that around for you so you can really see all of it. This one right there, Mars, Venus, Sun, Earth, Jupiter, that's the last time we had that was 1936. So it's a significant alignment. Then you also add in Saturn and Neptune. They're conjunct in geometric relationship with Pluto and Neptune. That doesn't happen that often. So it has a time period, a time window. It's not just that day that you can expect something. It's about that month overall, 15 days on each side, probably minimum, that you would really look to that. But we go forward here and we see that we don't get just that alignment. We also then get this follow-up alignment that involves very precisely three-eye atlas, Earth, Mercury, and Pluto, but also Venus and Mars are still very, very close by. So that is a significant alignment. Jupiter is also close by. So it's really, and then of course we still have Neptune and Saturn there in their harmonic arrangement to Uranus and Pluto. So yeah, it's really quite a big planetary alignment sequence that's unfolding right now. Let me go back to 2025 and show you what happened in March. Okay, so this was the planetary alignment we had in March, and we didn't know three-eye atlas, by the way, was there when this was occurring, but it was. So this is March 23rd. You see that we have the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Earth all in a line, right like that. And that was also roughly in line with Neptune and Saturn. And then we go forward here, just like this. And it was on the 28th of March that we had a huge burst of seismicity across the globe. It wasn't just the magnitude 7.7 in Burma, Thailand. There was also, I think, a 6.7 aftershock, a 6.6 on a mid-ocean ridge. There was a 6.2 or 6.1 that hit the same ridge as well. And then we had a magnitude 7 that struck just a day or two afterwards. It was a big seismic burst, like really quite significant. So these things can really scale up with time. So you have the coronal hole on the sun, you have the planetary alignment, you have the fact that the Earth is being charged by all this energy. You also have the fact that our radiation belts are fully charged right now. Here we see our radiation belt model going from the 9th of January up to today. And we've been fully charged, baby. We haven't really decharged now in a while for our radiation belts. So that's another factor. Not only our global electric circuit, but even going further out to the plazosphere, we've been very well charged. If we go well, this is loading, so hopefully it loads fairly quickly. But you can see that overall Earth is maintaining quite a high energy flux in its plazosphere. And then we add in the new moon. Don't forget the new moon. That lunar alignment is pretty key for a lot of this. So this is, yeah, see, we're still maintaining high charge even up to today, the 15th. So this is very significant. All the factors are converging. That's what we look for. Things can happen, of course, when there isn't a convergence, because that's, plate tectonics is going to march forward at all times. Stress is going to accumulate on faults, and sometimes they just go because, hey, they've reached their critical stress. Just like it's a normal day, the world's not going crazy, but Karen loses it at the shopping center, right? She just hit her critical stress. But when the world is losing it, more people are flipping out in general. Or like on a new moon or on a full moon, right? When there's a full moon, more people are acting crazy because it's a wave of energy coming in. That is kind of how to think of these things. Here we see our global seismic activity for the past 90 days. You see that we had more activity here since this magnitude 7.6 that hit Japan than we did preceding it. And so things are elevated right now. They are quite active. But here we have our solar wind model from NOAA, and this does not show any solar storms coming in because there haven't been any that have really launched our way, but it shows this high-speed stream. So here we have this very significant high-speed stream right there. This is the solar wind velocity. It's greatly elevated. There's the Earth. We see that first we get hit with this high-density co-rotating interaction region. This creates that bump right there. Nothing super crazy, but we will get a bit of an increase in the plasma density. Before then, we have this long duration transit through high velocity, low density solar wind. See the density there? Extremely low. Velocity, very, very high. Going up immediately, according to them, to 700 kilometers per second. So that is one of the most important factors as it relates to earthquakes. And so to wrap up, if there is an increased earthquake risk because of all these factors, where may we expect a high magnitude earthquake? So let's look at some zones that I would say have the highest risk of a high magnitude earthquake occurring during this time period and just in general. But there are a few zones that we've been watching. In California, we had a magnitude 4.4 in Willits with a 3.8 aftershock. This is a very rare location to have earthquakes, and it's right at this junction on the San Andreas where it bends, and that's why you get big earthquakes that build up on the San Andreas. And so there's actually a line of historic earthquakes that goes across like this, and then there's these blocks here on either side, the coastal ranges, that don't get any earthquakes. That 4.4 is quite significant. And the fact that we've had some other activity, we just had this 4.1 there down in San Diego, shows that the entire San Andreas is active. Because of some other factors I've discussed in other videos, just in general, California is a high-risk zone at this moment in time. Maybe not the highest, but definitely one to watch. Another area is up here in Tajikistan and the edge of the Himalayas. So north of India and just in general for a lot of the Himalayas. We've been seeing a lot of earthquakes here. If you zoom in, you'll see what I'm talking about. Largest magnitude first, bunch of 5s and high magnitude 4s in this area here. And we've had antipodal activity for those locations. So the antipode for that is actually here near Easter Island. And just recently, we've had this 5.1 Easter Island. We've also had this 5.6 Easter Island. And there's a little one underneath it, 4.9. So that's the antipode for that location, showing that there's just in general been this activity across both. And I would say that the mid-ocean ridge isn't going to see, a super high magnitude earthquake. But the fact that we're seeing up to magnitude 5.6 here right now is indicating that we could be seeing a higher magnitude earthquake strike this part of the world, the stands, especially in that Himalaya region. We could see up to magnitude 8 plus here. We get big earthquakes in this location. So that is also a zone to watch. Japan is still very much a zone because of all the activity that we've been seeing across the board, up in the Kuril Islands, further down in the subduction zone, the Nankai Trough, and further. So there's just been tons of activity in Japan. It's one of the most seismically active zones. Definitely an area that could have another big one, even though we had that 7.6 just recently. We could have a bigger one. But I think the 7.6 may have been it, but it's hard to say. That's definitely an area to watch. And then we could also have another big earthquake in the Drake Passage. We've been having Kamchatka, Russia, still be very, very active. And so I would not be surprised if you see a big earthquake down here. That's the antipode roughly for Kamchatka. And I also wouldn't be surprised if we see a big earthquake around Venezuela coming up. or this region in general. Maybe Colombia, Venezuela, somewhere in this zone. I would not be surprised if we get a high magnitude earthquake. No real super big warning signs for that, but just a little bit of a suspicion. We see this odd correlation between earthquakes and geopolitical events. So I know it's bizarre, but it lines up. So I don't know why that would happen. But they get big earthquakes there. Venezuela can get big earthquakes. I wouldn't be surprised. Other than that, I mean, New Zealand, the Alpine Fault is at its recurrence interval. That could go, which we hope it doesn't. But when it does, it's probably going to be a magnitude 7, magnitude 8. But there's no activity around New Zealand that's been super troubling. We did have this magnitude 5 recently, but no like anomalous earthquake swarms saying, hey, something's happening. Really, I think this area is looking the most active with all these distributed magnitude 4s and 5s, just showing overall stress hitting this area, building up. That is an area I'm watching closely. That's probably the highest risk zone, I would say, for what we have coming up. And hopefully nothing happens, but that is what I'm seeing and what I'm preparing for. I wouldn't be surprised. But California also high risk, and also going into Alaska, we've been seeing a lot of activity with Alaska. We just had a magnitude 5.9 in the past 24 hours. So we had the big magnitude 8.8 here. This area's had a lot of activity. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw something bigger from Alaska. We did have a 7.3 there back in July 2025. And also the 7.0 Hubbard Glacier earthquake, some earthquake activity, magnitude 6 around Anchorage in 2025. So Alaska could also be a zone for sure as well. So that is your update for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been your host, Stefan Burns, geologist, geophysicist, space weather guy, your cosmic bro, to help you understand what's happening here on Earth energetically, what's happening with the sun, the planets, our solar system, cosmos, and more. So if you like the sound of that, then please subscribe, smash that thumbs up button, help the channel grow. I release videos almost daily, so you can follow me here. You can also follow me for updates in between videos on my X account. That is at Stefan Burns Geo. It's linked in the video description. Wishing you all well. I would just recommend that if you live in earthquake prone zone, to be prepared and just to watch this closely. And we could have some amazing aurora also in the next week because of all these factors. So if you live in an area where you can see aurora, prepare for that as well. I'll be doing more videos and updates as necessary, but I wanted you to be prepared ahead of time, because this is looking very reminiscent to many other times when we've seen these significant seismic bursts occur right after these significant solar impacts. So that's what I think is going to happen. We'll have to wait and see, but it's a much higher probability because of all the factors I outlined. Then you add in that 3i Atlas and Pluto angle with the Mercury Cazimi, the new moon, everything, and I think it's going to be wild, folks. I really do. I hope not, but that's just kind of what I feel. So we'll have to wait and see. I'll keep you up to date. Thank you all so much. Wishing each and every single one of you well. Please take care of yourselves. I'll see you all in the next video.